I love it. I love it. I love it. The best football show. Here we are, Wednesday, midweek here. Hope everybody's enjoying themselves. Hope everybody is safe in South Florida and preparing for something that doesn't look good right now. Let's talk about some things that also aren't looking real good. Let's get to the best football show. I'm Brian Baldinger at X, on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, you name it, at Baldy NFL. You can download this podcast on your free Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast from. We're here every day talking football. I literally have got this jacket on right now and the shirt because I just got back from the Jets. Spent the morning up there. Obviously, it's the fallout of what just happened yesterday morning. Just because the Jets played in London, traveled back, and played Monday night, the players all went in on yesterday, Tuesday. Today's their day off, so not a lot of players around there except those getting treatment. But let's just look at the transaction here of first coach being fired, Robert Saleh. We know what his record is. We know some of the difficulties the last 2 weeks offensively. Couldn't score a touchdown against Denver 2 weeks ago in the rain. Had the ball first to goal at the one, didn't score. Went over to London, did not play well offensively. Fell behind 17-0. Had a chance to catch up, and also thrown a pick six, which helped Minnesota's cause right there. But throwing the three interceptions. They're last in the league in rushing. So Woody Johnson came out and said, I expect more from a talented roster. I don't blame him. I don't know if firing Robert Saleh is the answer or not the answer. I don't know if elevating Jeff Ulbrich is the answer or not the answer. I don't know if firing Nathaniel Hackett or demoting Nathaniel Hackett for Todd Downing to be the play caller. I don't know. I know this. A lot of chat out there about Aaron Rodgers is pulling all the strings. He's the GM. He's not. He's not the GM. He's the quarterback. Yes, quarterbacks have some weight in play calling, in game planning, in building relationships. They're the most important person in building. But he's not making these decisions. So let's just get that out of the way. But here's what I would do. If I was Jeff Ulbrich, they have one major issue. Defensively, they played very well. Very well. In all these games, they played well. Outside of the first game against San Francisco. But, they're playing without Jermaine Johnson. Hassan Reddick never showed up. Bryce Huff has been traded. C.J. Mosley's out with a bad toe. But Jamian Sherwood stepped up. I mean, a lot, Isaiah Oliver the guys that are supposed to step up have stepped up. Will McDonald has stepped up. He's a starter now. I mean, they're playing really good defense. They have one major issue on this football team. They're last in the NFL in rushing the football, and they shouldn't be. Breece Hall is a very good back. Braylon Allen has showed that he is going to be a good back and is a good back. You can depend on these guys. But right now, Breece Hall has 65 runs so far this year. 31 of the 65 runs have gone for 2 yards or less, and a lot of those runs have been negative runs. So if you're 1st and 10 and you're Nathaniel Hackett and you run Breece Hall on an outside zone and he loses 3 yards and you're 2nd and 13, there's not a coordinator in this world that's running the ball on 2nd and 13. Nobody. So the result is, because the running game has been so bad, Aaron Rodgers, for the 4th time in his career, in his 20-year career, 4th time, has now thrown for 100. He's dropped back 108 times in the last 2 games. Only 3 other times has he ever done that. And the 3 other times he did it, he wasn't 40 years old coming off an Achilles injury. And so he's just getting hit way too many times. He's been sacked 8 times the last 2 weeks. He's been hit 26 times in the last 2 weeks. And he's banged up, and he's not going to survive if you keep dropping back 50-plus times a game, trying to win a game. So the biggest issue they have is they have to run the ball better. They have to identify the weaknesses in the run. They have to identify what they do well, and they have to figure out the run game, because Breece Hall is too good to be averaging 3 yards a carry and to have as many negative runs as he had. So they got to get him better runways. They got to get him more openings. They got to stop this penetration. They got to start moving the line of scrimmage. And they got to start doing it starting tomorrow. The first day that they're going to have a chance to get out and practice and get ready for Buffalo. Look, whatever happens Monday night, whatever team loses is going to lose their third straight game. And I don't care in this business who you are. You lose 3 straight games in this business, the sky is falling. And they're calling for coach's head, although the Jets already took care of that. But they'll be calling for Sean McDermott's head. So the game has major importance. I texted Troy Aikman about a certain play last week. I mean, him and Joe Buck, they know what's going on. But anyways, if I was to give one piece of advice to Jeff Ulbrich for the Jets, it's fix the run game. That would make Aaron better. It would make the defense better. They wouldn't be out there as long. They would probably end up scoring more points. And so they have to get 3 runs that you can run against any look, any blitz, any defense, and execute those runs. And start there. Start small and grow the package. All right, that's that. Let's go to Monday night, where Kansas City won the 5th straight. It's unbelievable. What was most unbelievable to me is Kareem Hunt makes his first start for the Chiefs. Now, Kareem Hunt's last 100-yard rushing game was 4 years ago in Cleveland. He hasn't had one. He gets one on Monday night against a good defense in New Orleans. Juju Smith-Schuster, look, they lose Rashee Rice. Everybody's like, you got to go get a receiver. You got to go get a receiver. Well, Juju steps up, gets over 100 yards receiving, including the biggest play of the game when he comes in motion after New Orleans cut the score to 16-13, with, 9-10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. He goes across the field in motion. Tyrann Mathieu in coverage on him. He slips, falls. Juju catches the ball, goes 50 yards down to the 14-yard line. 3 plays later, Xavier Worthy goes in on a read option from Travis Kelce. And that was the turning point of the game. It was the denouement. It was, it was the point of the game where you feel like the Chiefs were going to win the 5th straight. And then you see McCole Hardman, who's been nothing but a returner this year. But, he left the nest. He went to the Jets. He went other places. He comes back. He's the returner strictly. Gets his first carries of the season. And he's going 15 yards, on a fly sweep. I mean, it's just unbelievable how the Chiefs can welcome these guys back where they're almost invisible. Now, Kareem Hunt had good days. Don't get me wrong. He had good days in Cleveland, no question, with Nick Chubb. It was a good 1-2 punch. But, he really hasn't done much in the last 4 years. And he gets 100 yards, and he's the starting back. And all of a sudden, Isaiah Pacheco's a forgotten guy. And he runs, honestly, the Chiefs drafted him in the 3rd round out of Toledo in 2017. He's the offensive rookie of the year. He leads the league in rushing in his rookie season. 7 years later, he's looking like the same back. Like, running backs age in dog years. Like, they don't do this, but you do in Kansas City. Now, what do you give the credit to? Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes he's just unreal. And he will even admit, and has admitted, that he's not playing great football. His footwork isn't good. He got out of the pocket the other day. He had Kelce wide open in the middle of the field, and he bounced it off the turf. His footwork, he tripped a little bit. Footwork wasn't great. Probably sets his feet a little bit or gets a little better control of himself. Probably, he's receiver's wide open. Probably completes it. But here the Chiefs at 5-0, and they're not playing great on offense. But this I know. Chris Jones is an unblockable force. Now, look, the Saints have lost their starting center, Eric McCoy. They lost their starting right guard, and Cesar Ruiz. And they got patchwork guys in there right now. Chris Jones goes in there, and he just destroys them. I mean, literally destroys them. And he's just like nobody else. In the fourth quarter, when the game was tight, he went out wide against the rookie, Taliesin Fuaga, and just beat him clean inside. So fast, and pressures Derek Carr, affects the play. They're an unbelievable organization. And Andy Reid, you lose Rashee Rice for the season. It's a terrible blow. Here's Juju. Here's McCole. Here's Kareem Hunt. They're the Chiefs, and they will make a serious run for their 3rd straight. All right, let's go to Jacksonville. They win their first game. And, with I don't even know what it was. It was the 21st pick. It was 23rd pick in last year's draft. They took Brian Thomas Jr. They wanted a true number 1 wide receiver. However you want to define that. He was the 4th receiver taken. And in the draft process, you'll remember, honestly, it was Marvin Harrison Jr., it was Malik Neighbors, It was Rome Odunze. And then it was just everybody else. It was Brian. People knew Brian Thomas Jr. was going to be a first-round pick, but they didn't put him in that elite category of receivers. Xavier Worthy gets drafted by the Chiefs. People are like, the rich get richer. Okay, he's had his impact. This Brian Thomas Jr. is as good as any of these rookie receivers. I know Malik Neighbors is still second in the league in catches, even after missing the fifth start against Seattle with a concussion. Marvin Harrison Jr. has found the end zone. Is it 3 times in the last 2 games or 4 times in the last 3 games? Regardless, he's finding the end zone. Brian Thomas Jr., I'm telling you, like, you look at that game last week against Indianapolis, he's the best receiver on the field. And when you watch him, he has an 85-yard touchdown catch in the game. He's so smooth. His footwork is so elite. I mean, he's running a 20-yard comeback against good coverage, right? 20-yard comeback, and Trevor Lawrence gets the ball to him. And at the top of his route, like I think it was Justin Jones was the corner, number 40 for the Colts. I mean, there's 5 yards of separation at the top of his route. His ability to stop, start, change directions, like just foot speed, like you watch his stride on that 85-yard touchdown catch. It's as pretty as any stride in the league. Like, he's not even playing football. He's just out there on the track. Like, he is an elite player. Now, Jacksonville came close to losing that game, but they've been close to winning some of these games, and they finally break through. And it's good to see that the quarterback, who has struggled, no question, Trevor has struggled this year. It's good to see him finding this timing with Brian Thomas Jr. Because let's face it, they're going to get Evan Ingram back, and he's a great option. He's had 100 catches last year. Christian Kirk is healthy. Like, Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby are a pretty good 1-2 combination. Like, you could see Jacksonville's offense putting up points, and you could see Trevor Lawrence turning this thing around. The way, and in large part because of the play of Brian Thomas Jr. Now let's go to the endings of 2 games. Let's start with my game. I was in Cincinnati on Sunday. It's a classic. It's an instant classic game. Back when ESPN had instant classic games. I mean, literally, you could put that game on all week and you would watch it. When Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are playing at the level they're playing at, like, as an analyst, just get out of the way. Just describe the action, because it was both quarterbacks playing at the highest level. So let's just review the end of this game. It's 38-38 in overtime. And Tyler Linderbaum snaps the ball to Lamar Jackson with 6.5 minutes to go. And Lamar takes his eyes off the ball, bounces off the turf, and linebacker Jermaine Pratt recovers it at the 37-yard line of Baltimore. And Zach Taylor decides to run Chase Brown 3 times into the middle of the line, when literally Baltimore just stacked the box and just said, okay, we'll give you the 3 runs. We're not giving you any yards. And I'm looking at this in real time. I'm looking at it going, Jamar Chase has 10 catches for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns. And on first and second down, the corner is 8 yards off. And I'm saying, I know Joe Burrow's got to run the play that's called, but don't you put the ball in Jamar Chase's hands one more time? This is Joe Burrow, who actually is ranked number 1 in quarterback ratings in this league and is playing better than any quarterback in this league. Don't you put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands and let him throw it to Jamar Chase? They couldn't cover him, and they couldn't tackle him all game. So they gained 3 yards, and, look, we know that the snap was bobbled, and, Evan McPherson doesn't get a chance to really get a good kick. And they give the ball back to Baltimore, and, it's a disaster. I just think if you're banking on a 53-yard field goal, regardless if the snap hold is good, and as good as McPherson is, that's not a chip shot. You got to get closer. You got to make it closer. I just think they blew a chance. Put the ball. In fact, I think there's a lot of players that feel like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase should have had a chance to throw it. All right, that's that. And then you look at the end of this Buffalo game against Houston. It's 2020. Buffalo has the ball at their own 3-yard line. There's 32 seconds to go in the game. and they decided to throw the ball 3 straight plays. And the rationale from Sean McDermott was this: if we get a first down, we can then run out the clock. We can make them call all their timeouts, and we can take a knee and run the clock out. All right. Well, we threw 3 straight incompletions. And honestly, any kind of a holding call in the end zone by any offensive lineman, and Josh Allen's in the end zone on all 3 plays, any holding call or offensive penalty is a safety, and they lose the game right there. So that's one. Number 2, if you run James Cook 3 times, you might get the first down. I mean, he is an elite back. You might get a first down running it 3 times. And even if they call the timeout after each play, Houston does, you're going to run the clock out if you get the first down. And if you run it 3 times in a row, and let's just say you gain 2 yards a run. Okay, let's just play it out. Let's play that Houston calls the timeout, and you're now down to, let's say, 22 seconds, 20 seconds, let's just say. All right, let's just say you now punt it, okay? Well, now you have a little bit more breathing room. You've gained, let's say, 6 yards. And so they fair catch it. When Houston did get the ball back, the first play, because they had the timeouts, was they completed a check down pass to Ogunbowale, and they gained 7 yards, I believe. They got 7 yards closer for Kai Fairburn to kick the game-winning field goal. Well, you're not going to have that chance to throw any ball inbounds and call a timeout to get closer. You're either going to have to throw the ball to the sideline, take your chances that you get out of bounds if you catch it, or you're going to have to kick a 60-plus yard field goal. I think it was a bad decision. And the point is, I'm not here to play Monday morning quarterback and beat up on Sean McDermott or Zach Taylor. I've got a lot of confidence in both of them. But these games are just that close. And sometimes you got to let your best players touch the ball. And the best player for Buffalo to touch the ball with 32 seconds to go, outside of Josh Allen running it, is James Cook. The passing game isn't great in Buffalo right now. So I just want to touch on those. I think they were poor decisions. I think they helped them lose games that they easily could have won. You don't get them back. Cincinnati could be 2-3 and tied with Baltimore at 2-3. Put the ball in your best player's hands. You still got to kick the field goal. I get it. It's not a guarantee. I just think there was better decisions to be made. That's the Best Football Show. I'll be back here live tomorrow. We'll figure out the time. Live tomorrow, getting ready for Week 6, advancing San Francisco's game in Seattle tomorrow night. Can't wait to get to that and some of the things that we'll talk about in both San Francisco and Seattle and getting ready for Week 6. Thanks for joining me here on the Best Football Show.